We need to make sure that we understand what we mean by the word bias when we're talking about statistics. Bias is anything that means that the outcome of a statistical investigation is not representative of the population. We've looked at some examples of bias when we considered leading questions in the section on questionnaire design. Another typical example of how bias is introduced is through inappropriate sampling. So let's have a look at how that can occur. We call this sampling bias. So sampling bias occurs when either we've not managed to sample part of the population, or one group within that population is overrepresented or indeed underrepresented. We've not got the balance of the sample correct. This leads to bias because one group may have different views to another. Here's an example. So Aidan decides to investigate the distance from a polling station, whether that affects whether people usually vote in his town. He decides to sample voters leaving the polling station. So what do you think of that approach? He's looking to see whether it affects whether they vote or not, but he's only asking people who've made the effort to vote in the first place. So he's asking a group of people who the distance doesn't have an impact. They've already voted. So that's leading to a very clear bias because he's not included any people in his sample who haven't voted. So how are we going to change this approach? Well, one way to do this is to conduct a different type of survey. Rather than doing it face to face and standing in the one place, you could do it as a telephone survey. This way you can take a representative sample of the whole population of the town. So we seek to reduce sample bias by ensuring we get representative samples from the whole of a population. So if we were doing a survey in a school about the school lunches and we were surveying 70 or 80 people, we'd have to make sure we got a similar number from each year group. We'd also have to make sure we got a similar number of girls and boys because they might have different preferences. And also you need to think about within a school there would be people who don't eat the school lunches. So you might not want to include those in your survey. Particularly, a group of people who are taking packed lunches, for example. This is a difficult area to cover because, unlike in most areas of maths, there's no strict method to follow and there's no right or wrong answer. This is about common sense, and it's about making sure that you use the information that you're given in a question and use your common sense and general knowledge to work out an appropriate way of solving a problem. There isn't, unfortunately, a long list of all sample bias problems that you can come across. Just look at each question as it comes, apply your general knowledge and common sense, and usually that will give you the right answer. Think about how you might conduct surveys differently, either face-to-face, telephone, internet, by post, and how that might affect the sample bias that you come across.